Welcome from the mid-Atlantic, where it's hot and sticky. Since it's the middle of summer, what else would it be? We're going to go ahead and be making a vase for you this morning with optic impressions, and the color grouping that we're going to use is what we call a pink pastel. We'll go ahead and pick up some clear glass and pick up the frit and go to town, and we hope that you'll enjoy it. So thank you for being with us. This has been what, probably a good 40 times that we've been doing this, and we look forward to working with you today. So,
all right,
very
great.
good.
Okay. Well, welcome, Lynn. Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you with us. All righty, so Foster's going to be making a vase here this morning. We'll be using the optic bowl to create some design elements into it. And he's going to play 52 stick pickup, 52 card stick pickup. Anybody out there remember pickup sticks as a child? Did you have pickup sticks when you were a kid, Foster?
I did.
All right. All right, so he's taking his first gather of clear glass from the furnace. The furnace holds about 400 to 450 pounds of molten glass, and it's all clear glass. That's so we can use a variety of colors as we make the vessels. If he were to have a furnace that only contained, say, the pink glass, that'd be it for the next week or so. He's using a cherry wood block right now to shape the glass, and that will stabilize it a little bit also, give it a little more symmetry. The cherry wood is selected because it's a nice tight grain of fruit wood. The wood's cut when it's green and shaped when it's green, and then always kept in water. And that keeps it from burning up. It also keeps it from cracking. He's introduced a little bit of air into the pipe, trapped it in there, and now you can see the bubble that's formed within the glass. We'll use the block again to chill the glass a little bit, just on the outside to stabilize it. If he were to go right back over to the furnace, excuse me, and gather immediately without letting this glass set up a little bit, the intense heat of the 2,000 degree molten glass would cause it just to shrink up. That bubble he just created would most likely disappear. So by waiting an extra 30 seconds to a minute, he's ready to gather. All righty. This will most likely be a 2-gather piece, so Foster will take another gather of the clear glass, and then he'll come over and tap the glass in the bowl of frit. And the ground up glass, which is what the frit is, will stick to the fresh, hot gather of molten glass. So let's watch that happen. Here he comes with his gather. You will notice he's continually turning the iron. Were he to stop that, it would fall, the glass would fall toward the ground. There he is tapping the glass in the bowl, and it's causing the frit to adhere. Now, because of the high incandescence of the hot glass, it might be a little difficult to see online because we get a bit of a brightness there, but you can see where he picked up frit around the outside of that gather. Right now he's at a reheating unit. We call it a glory hole. It's really just a ceramic chamber that runs a little over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, quite often in a range of 22 to 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit. Once we exit the furnace, we begin losing heat from the glass. And we have a saying around here that hot glass moves and cold glass don't. So the only way to get it moving again is to reheat it. So he's melted that in. You can kind of see that there's not the little shards on the outside surface now. And he'll gather again, picking up the fret. And because it's just a little bit cooler now, you can see the pink and white much more clearly now. You can see the colors all gathered on the outside of the vessel. He's using the metal table, which we call a marver, to shape it. And once again, he's trapped some air in the blowpipe and covered the mouthpiece with his finger to cause the air to expand out into the glass. He's got an optic mold set up beside that little step right there. And in just a few moments, he'll be getting that glass really hot, shaped up to go in there to put ridges in it. The use of the marver now tapers the glass, and this more mimics the interior shape of the mold. We'll take a quick look at that right now, and you can see that that's what he's going to go down into. Optic or dip molds, because he's dipping into it, are typically used just to put design elements into the glass. They don't shape the final form of the vessel. There are molds made for that, but the optic mold, look at the beautiful ridges that puts into the glass. The optic mold just simply contributes to the design element. Foster will reheat that some more, and we'll bring it on back to the bench now. And he'll use a pair of metal blades called jacks, and he's going to use those to create a constriction just off the end of the blowpipe. Foster doesn't want you to confuse him with Superman. He doesn't bend steel, he bends glass. Hey Bridget, welcome aboard. So anyway, he uses the jack blades to cut a constriction because nobody's going to want this vase with a 4.5-foot piece of steel attached. Now he's free blowing, which means just blow into the pipe rather than the blow and cap, which is trapping the air in the pipe. And we use that we can have a little better control of how much air goes in or the pressure. With the blow and cap, you're either on or off. With the free blowing, you can vary the pressure. Now he's going to roll the tip of the glass on the metal tabletop. This will cool it off so that when he does blow and expand the glass, it expands above that point. It doesn't blow out the very bottom. Let's watch. You can see he's still got that kind of conical tip on the glass, and that keeps the bottom of the vessel thick. And of course, we are making the bottom half to 2/3 of a vessel first and then the top. So the outboard portion away from the blowing iron is actually the bottom of the vase. He reinforces the jack line again. He's cooling it with newspaper that time rather than the metal tabletop. And he'll blow again, but once more, he doesn't get too much inflation at the very end. If he let the bottom of the vessel get very, very thin, it's quite likely that it could crack later in the process and we'd have difficulty making the piece. So we like to keep a reservoir of thick glass down toward the bottom of the vessel. All right, so now what he'll do is gradually elongate this. Almost all our vessels are made by creating a sphere with a jack line in it. You notice he's just swinging this back kind of gently, keeping his eye on it to see how long it's extending. Now he'll go back for more heat. So that's about all the time he had to do that operation. So if he wants it a little longer, he'll just heat it up some more and swing it out more. Also, he can heat just a portion of the vessel. He's pulled back on the iron some so that mainly the lower part of the vessel's getting hot. When he brings it out this time, we might be able to see a color difference between the middle and the bottom, and we can. It looks a little more bright orange, and now he's going to get a little more exuberant with the elongation. He's kept the diameter nice and consistent. Okay. And one of the things a glass blower has to be conscious of is the dimensions of the vessel he's working with. Foster actually blew that sphere a little larger diameter than what he wanted for the finished product, because when he elongated the vessel, he lost some diameter. So to get it just exactly where he wants, he starts out a little larger with the sphere. Right now it looks like he's going to give it a gentle swing on the way back to the bench. You can see the heat down in the bottom, It's a brighter color down there. It's kind of orange and incandescent. And he's using a tool right now we call paper pegs. They're actually cardboard tubes. They steal less heat, but it gives a nice taper to the bottom of the vessel. Now a wooden paddle will flatten the bottom, and sometimes that manipulation causes the profile to change, so it gave it a little more air. Once the bottom's flattened, we have the lower half to 2/3 of the vessel finished, and he sent Josh off to the furnace now to make him a punty. A punty is a small gather of glass. Think of it as like serving as a glue bit on another pipe. So we've got the lower half of this vessel made. Now we have to make the upper half accessible, and we do that by intentionally breaking the glass free from the blowing iron. Josh will shape this glass so there's just a little bit extending off the end of the pipe. He'll take it over and present it to Foster, who's over here waiting, and Foster will align it with the center of the bottom. Then he will break the piece free at the constriction he made. So he places the punty in the center, and while Josh is holding the punty iron, Foster's actually doing the turning. Foster's keeping it rotating, getting it all lined up dead center on the bottom, a drip of water onto the neckline, and then a little vibration, and it will fracture. So this is a controlled fracture of the glass. It breaks right free from the neck where he created that jack line, and now he's ready to work on the upper half of the vessel. Josh gives it a little flash. We call these short heats a flash heat, and it's just a matter of getting a little bit of warmth into the glass. Glass has to stay well above 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, or we run the risk of it cracking. So you'll notice, since Foster has completed the lower half of the vessel, he's pulled that back out of the glory hole a little bit, and it's only the upper reaches that are exposed to the extreme heat. That glass was cold enough to fracture. It's going to take a minute or so to warm up again to where he can manipulate it, but he doesn't want the lower part of the vessel to get cold and crack. So he'll alternate between heating the upper reaches of the vessel and occasionally flashing the piece. You'll be able to see a difference in the color where the heat is. There's kind of an orange glow to it out toward the lip of the vessel. He's using his jacks to increase the size of the opening a little bit. And now, while the glass is still hot, he can take a pair of shears and cut, just like you would with a pair of scissors, only he's cutting glass. That evens the lip out, gives him a nicer surface to work with. And then he can go ahead, take another reheat, and finish working on the top of the vessel. If the glass were to get cold, he wouldn't be able to cut it at all. If you think of taking a pair of even 10 snips or really heavy shears into your kitchen and trying to cut a drinking glass, you know that doesn't work out too well. But if the glass is hot, we can cut it with the shears just as you saw. Again, he'll concentrate the heat in the upper reaches of the vessel, occasionally flashing the rest of the piece, and even the punty. It's very important to keep that punty warm because that's what's holding the piece to the pipe right now. It's a mechanical connection, it's just a joint, and if it gets too cold, it could actually fall off. He's using the strap or the hinge of the jacks to flatten the lip a little bit, and now he'll begin to continue to work on the opening process. Notice as he lowers his hand toward the floor, he created a flare. Now bringing the jack blades up over top of the vessel and straddling it, he can give a nice taper to the shape of the neck, the lip there. That also decreased the size of the opening in the vessel. And if he wants to puff the shoulders out any, he'll use a tool called a steam stick. Not sure if he wants to use that today or not, but that's always part of the artist's arsenal. All right, so he's probably got a little bit more work to do on the upper reaches of the vessel. That's why he's concentrating the heat right there. let's see what he does. There's the steam cone. Now watch the shoulders inflate. See, they get bigger because you put a piece of wood that's wet into that hot body of glass. The steam created forces it to inflate, and what a beautiful design. Good morning, Joanna. Welcome aboard. So you saw how he puffed the shoulder out and gave it a nice gentle curve to return into the area where the constriction is. So it's got matching curves at the lip and the shoulder. And there is an absolutely beautiful vase. All right. Thank you, Foster. All right, so the next step is to take it off of the punty iron. When Foster comes back over, he'll simply take a butter knife and chill the area around the joint between the punty and the piece. He's not trying to knock it off, because if he did, it'd fall straight to the floor. There's nothing there below it. But by cooling it right there, he weakens that spot. And when it's weak and he taps the iron with a hammer handle, he'll have his glove underneath and catch the piece as it comes down. The tap, and there it breaks free, and there's your vase. All right, beautiful. And off to the annealer, the longest part of the glass working process. We have to let that glass anneal for about 8 hours, which is a gradual cooling, after which time the stress will be relieved. Thank you, Foster.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful
Very good.
job.
Thank you very much, folks. We hope you enjoyed that, and we hope you have a great day wherever you are. Thank you for being with us this morning, East Coast time in the U.S.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
again.
All right. Bye-bye.